Leisure Services meeting going on.
I think it smelled like smoke even though I
Oh
showered
my God.
3 days after.
I don't remember. I don't think I knew that. There's a Leisure Services meeting?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Night. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Missed it.
If you need anything else,
Supposed to be in two places at once?
I think it was earlier, but for some reason I don't remember. I don't think I knew that.
It's the Sith.
That would be.
This lady was bringing in like popcorn.
You know, I was that way too. I got my jacket and tie all day in my office. Not worked out.
I put it on when I got, before I got here.
But there's usually a garden thing, or, there's usually garden club or something. It's usually on Mondays too.
I really haven't found a tie that goes with a shirt like that yet. Once while I look.
Oh, okay.
I do have a tie at home that's look.
That's why I don't wear one. I can't clash with the shirt.
We could have a
I'm on
contest
this.
sometime.
I'm on this.
Our best Hawaiian
Our
shirt.
best line shirts.
Just not tell the public until we get it.
That's right.
It wasn't on the agenda, of course, but
That would be a good
What
one.
have they talked about?
July 6th thing, you know,
No.
I do have quite the shirt my dad brought back from Hawaii in the 70s. With the silver leisure seat.
I call to order the Waverly City Council for May 4th, 2015. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated. Let us pray. Dear God of goodness and grace, we come to Thee before we deliberate, to remember Thy gift of humility, which has anchored our town through the years. This evening, we ask for wisdom to lead with understanding, with a sense of the well-being of Waverly. Make this deliberating body a team, bonded in humble service. For this we pray. Amen. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as distributed by our city clerk, Carla Geyer?
Approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Council discussion.
Mayor, I would like to, at this time, make a motion to remove item 6, the agenda timeline process. You see, it was similar to the last couple of times this was on the agenda up until noon today. There really wasn't anything of substance there, and then apparently late this afternoon, the ordinance was put in there. And I think we should model what we're trying to change here. If it's important enough to get on the agenda, it should be in before mid-afternoon, the day we're going to talk about it.
So your motion is to not handle this evening business item 6. Correct?
Correct?
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and seconded. Discussion? All in favor signify with yes.
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 Opposed with nay.
No. Hey.
It's defeated. More council discussion. All in favor of the agenda as it being been presented signify with yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed with no.
No.
It is accepted by a 5-2 vote. Is there a motion to approve the April 20th minutes, also as distributed by our city clerk?
Move approval of the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Council discussion. All in favor?
Mayor, if I could,
Yes.
please, just want to draw attention to regular business item number 1. It has a 6 yes, no, 1, and a 1 absent, so the count
Oh, sorry, it should be 5. On which minutes? The 20th or 21st?
20, the 20th. And then just to double check, based on some information that's out on social media, I'm just wondering if it was really a 5-to-1 vote. It seemed to indicate it was a 4-to-2 vote. But-
There was 1 absent, and it was just 5-to-1.
Okay, thank you.
More discussion? All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no, unanimously approved. Is there a motion to approve the April 27th study session minutes?
Move approval of the minutes.
Is there a second? The motion and second, council discussion. All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no, unanimously approved. We welcome this evening Russ Drome to be our guest council person for the month of May. I happen to know Russ a little bit from some work at St. Paul's Church in the school, and so it's good to see you again. Russ, would you be willing just to share something about your life and who you are and help the larger community to know you a little better?
Sure, I'm Russ Jerome. I came
You
here.
can speak right in the mic.
Russ Jerome. I came here in 2008, the year of the flood. I have 3 children. I'm married to Abby. I'm originally from Wisconsin, and I married an Iowa girl. And I'm from Ward 5.
So you have some children, and their ages are?
8, 7,
Yes?
6 right now.
And for the children watching, they're very, very thankful Dad did that. So it's good to have you with us, and you have full voice, and no vote, but full voice.
Not a Packers fan, are you? We won't hold that against you.
Allow me to read a proclamation declaring May 9th as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day for 2015. Every year, on the second Saturday in May, letter carriers across the country collect non-perishable food as part of the nation's largest one-day food drive, distributing the donations to local food banks. And the Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive is just one example of how letter carriers work to make a difference in the lives of those they serve. Since the pilot drive was held in 1991, more than 1 billion pounds of food has been collected. And whereas we would like to recognize all letter carriers for their hard work and their commitment to their communities, all of the food collected in our community stays in our community, and we support carriers' efforts to help those in need in our community. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of Waverly, Iowa, by the authority vested to us, do hereby proclaim Saturday, May 9th, 2015 as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day in our city and the county of Bremer, and encourage the citizens of our community to support the food drive by placing non-perishable food items in or near their mailbox on Food Drive Day. Your letter carrier will pick up while delivering the mail, and together we can all help those in need. A motion.
I'll move to proclaim the day of May 9th to be Letter Carriers Food Drive Day for 2015.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Discussion? All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no? Unanimously declare May 9th, Letter Carriers Food Drive Day. Allow me to read a proclamation declaring the month of May as National Historic Preservation Month for 2015. Whereas the National Historic Preservation Month is being celebrated in the month of May in communities across the United States, and whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character, and whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has helped shape us as a people. And whereas Saturday, May 30th, is the day Waverly will celebrate its second National Register Historic District, the Harmon and Valley Northwest Historic District, making the significance of the historical architecture and the community history embodied in the homes of the Northwest residential neighborhood in Waverly. Now therefore we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Waverly, Iowa, do hereby proclaim May 2015 as National Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of Waverly to join their fellow citizens across the United States to recognize and participate in this special observance. Motion, please.
I move we proclaim May as National Historic Preservation Month for 2015.
Thank you, David. Second?
Second.
Motion seconded. All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no. Unanimously proclaimed. Are there any public comments on any items? Sarah?
We have some members of the Historic Preservation Commission here, so we're just going to say a few words.
Yes, right. So I invite you, did not know, but I see now. Thank you.
All right. I'm Karen Lehman. I'm a member of the commission, and with me we have Don Meyer and Jim Hundley, who is the chair of our commission. And to go along with thanking you for designating this National Historic Preservation Month, now that the city has achieved official designation of 3 National Historic Districts, the Southeast, the Northwest, and the Downtown, the commission is excited that we are about to begin doing something we've wanted to do for a long time, introducing signage to those areas. We would like to increase the public's awareness and the recognition of the historic character of our neighborhoods. This also it dovetails very nicely in conjunction with what Main Street Iowa and Iowa Economic Development have recommended to Waverly, that we increase our wayfaring signage. So the Preservation Commission is very excited to do that. We would like to introduce you to the 2 kinds of signs that we are about to begin ordering. We're working on putting the exhibit up, but I also passed out to the commissioners. There are 2 kinds of signs. There are welcome to the district signs, and there are also historic district sign toppers. So the top signs that look brown there that have the house on them that say the name of the district, those are 18 by 18 inch square in the National Park Service brown, which is who approves the National Historic Districts. There will be approximately 32 of those signs at the entrances to the district from all 4 sides, actually 3 sides on the southeast because the river's there. So as you enter a district, you'll see a sign that looks similar to what we've put up there. And they will be mounted by Brian Sullivan's department on square tube posts with holes, which is pretty much what current signage around the town does. They can be added to a sign that has another sign on it. I've got an example here. So they can look like that as long as it's not a sign such as a stop sign or a major sign. You can add them to things like a no parking sign that already exists. You can put them on a street post that already exists with the permission of our power company. So we will be adding these signs after we get them ordered, which is the next step we will do after we wanted to bring it to your attention that this was about to happen, because this is exciting. The second kind are the sign toppers. And that's the bottom one that you see that says Historic District on it. Those are rectangular. They will be perpendicular, and it'll probably be easier to explain that with another picture. So you can see that's what a corner sign looks like, and you can also see the hardware in between. That the commission will be using our budget, what remains of it this year, and then we'll be spreading this over next year to purchase the hardware, and then to purchase, imagine another perpendicular sign on top of that, which will look similar to this. That's a small one, so it's a little hard to see, but you get the idea that there will be a sign on top of that that says Historic District. So every corner within the historic district, which actually comes out to 50 signs in the northwest and the southeast, will have a perpendicular two-sided sign that says Historic District. So as you drive around, you will both know you've gone into the district, and you will know that you're in there with the historic homes and landmarks. So this is not possible to see, but we will put it on our website. It shows a map of the districts. So I just leave that. We will link to that on the commission's website, so people will be able to see the actual boundaries of the districts better, and you get a feel for why we need all these signs. Another thing for you to be aware of, we are currently in the process of getting the Southwest District proclaimed a National Historic District. Those boundaries are still fluid as Marla Svensson continues to write the application. So we are not buying signs for that at this moment in time, nor are we doing the downtown yet, because that involves a state highway, so there are more permissions that we will be getting throughout our next fiscal year. But we will intend to, we are going forth and ordering the signs, and so somewhere within 2015, 2016, we will start proudly designating those areas.
Wow, thank you.
As Mayor Infelt read in the proclamation, we set aside Saturday, May 30th to celebrate National Historic Preservation Month, and that will be our public launch event for our second historic district. And we invite each of you to come. Mayor Infelt, we'd be honored to have you come and say a few words as well. So please consider this your official invitation. We'd be honored to have all of you there. We had a wonderful first-time event last year, about 1 year ago, and lots of people came to do the walking tour. We'll have self-guided brochures to help those tours, and we encourage each of you to come and recognize and appreciate the treasures that we have in these historic districts. So please come. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a question, just if I may. With this historic preservation, I was going to bring it up. I didn't put it on the council, on the agenda this week, but I was thinking about it when I saw the historic preservation on there. In dealing with something like with the Southeast Old Ward, Fourth Ward now there, is there any possibility or focus that we can look at the bridge, the Green Bridge, with that as a 100-year-old structure? Does it have any historic value that we would be able to apply for any kind of funding or something with that perhaps, you know, just using that as kind of a springboard towards that for additional, as we're looking at what we can do with that?
Go ahead.
I know that when Marla Svensson was here last time giving us an update on the Southwest Historic District, she did say that the bridge would be eligible for the National Register. So I don't know details on that, but yes, I believe it would be eligible, to be nominated as a historic item, and that might make it eligible.
For some additional funding.
It could be. I don't know details, but yes, I know she said that a nomination could be prepared for that.
Another thing that we've tried to do is give awards to historic things that perhaps aren't here anymore, such as the sign over the river that says Dairy Spot of Iowa. So we know we would want to commemorate the Green Bridge, whatever happens.
Thank you. We have a letter carrier representative, and we're going to go back and highlight that wonderful proclamation that we made, and enjoy your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Infelt and City Council for passing that resolution. This is the first year we have actually promoted this in Waverly. It's been nationwide for 22 years, and as you said, we have raised 1.3 billion pounds nationwide. Nationally, 49 million people are at risk for hunger. 1 in 5 of those are children. And locally, they say they service 4 to 5 families every day. And I know, Mayor, you're very involved with this. And like you said in the proclamation, all food that we gather this week will stay here in Waverly, will not go anywhere else to a clearinghouse or Waterloo or anyplace else. So everything we get will stay here, and we're hoping for a good turnout. I am optimistically hoping for 10,000 pounds of food. That will, with summer coming on and school, kids out of school, that's 2 extra meals that people are gonna have to try to find for their children. So hopefully, we can get everything good to go for Saturday. But again, thank you very much. Any
Yes.
questions that you might have?
I'm assuming you're requesting canned goods, non-perishables, that type of thing?
Non-perishables, yes.
Not the 15-pound ham that you have to take back to the...
I'm not working, I'm just going around collecting food that day. And to help everyone else out with the truck to get everything picked up. Because like I said, hopefully, we're super busy that day. That's what we want. It's the one day of the year where we really actually get to give back to the community.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Dave Peterson?
Thank you.
Any more questions of Mr. Peterson? Then we thank you, and thank you for the highlight.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments on any items not on tonight's agenda? Mr. Little.
A while back, we hired McClure Engineering to find a solution to the failing installation problem at the engine room at the airport. We hired them, we paid them. Contractor was hired, work was done, work is in failure. Nothing's been done at the last airport meeting I was to in that room. What is the status of that, and how is that going to get finished?
It's a good question. I'm not aware of the issue so much. Does anyone like to speak to that?
Well, let me start out that no one has been paid, whether it be the contractor or consultant for that work. And we are still looking at getting it corrected.
Okay. Is that helpful?
Well, it still doesn't give a timeline. We've been looking to get it corrected for quite some time now, but at least we're working on it. On the consent agenda, I have a couple items that I would like to have pulled, so when that comes up next, I'd like to ask a couple items.
That's okay. You want to identify them?
One would be the Heartland 2nd Avenue and Babcock Woods Trail. Do we have a separation of costs for the trail and a cost of the 2nd Avenue? Or is it being lumped together like other similar projects have been done? And the one for Cardinal ATC for asbestos testing and abatement.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that'd be it.
Thank you. Then, are there any other public comments on any agenda items not on this evening's agenda? Then we'll move to the consent calendar. We have before us 8 remaining issues to approve, and then we will look individually at number 2 and number 6. We have a pay request from Peterson Contractors for parkway work. We have McClure Engineering bill to pay for the runway. We have Peters Construction to pay for the public service building. There's 2 of those bills. We have a Heartland Asphalt, that we're going to do that later. Boulder Contracting, we have a bill to pay for the ped ramp. We have a public hearing to set for the runway, the airport runway, for plan specs, form of contract, estimated cost for May 18th here at the Chambers. We have a public hearing also to set for the 2015 budget amendment. That'll be also May 18th. And we have a Class C liquor license for Water Street Grill to approve. Is there a motion?
Move approval of the consent agenda minus the 2 items that were pulled.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify with yes.
Just a,
Yep.
just a point of procedure. It would have to be a council member actually pulling those items for consent agenda, wouldn't it?
No.
I think it's a
No, I think he
public
can,
or-
he is.
Any member
Yeah.
of the public can change it? Okay.
That's what I'm remembering.
We don't have to motion to pull them out, we can just pull them out, is what you're asking, right?
That's what I'm asking. Shouldn't it be a council member that actually requests to pull those out?
We've always had it public or council.
Yeah.
The new calendar format.
Well, it says here in our materials, I don't know where the original is, but even in our agenda today, it says, unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately.
All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no. The 8 included agenda items are accepted. Let's look at number 2. It's a pay request from Cardinal ATC for the Dry Run Creek improvement. Would like to speak to that one.
Back in, when you look at the supporting documents in your packet for tonight on Cardinal, it shows when the original contract for $6,900 was approved, and then an addendum was approved to that original contract. The original contract was for $6,900, and when you go to page 2 of that supporting document from the January 5th meeting of the Waverly City Council when that was approved, the resolution number was yeah, I don't have the resolution number. But on supporting documents for that $6,900 contract, it said on page 2, 5th bullet, it said Cardinal ATC will write bidding documents for the asbestos abatement project. On the same page, the next bullet, it said Cardinal ATC will solicit bids to reputable asbestos abatement companies. I haven't seen any bids. I haven't seen any solicitations for bids. That amount that was approved, is being asked to be approved, is $21,965. It looks like Cardinal ATC just wrote their own ticket and failed to do work that they said they would do in the first contract. So we should be deducting, if they're writing their own ticket for the $21,000 abatement costs, and they'll be coming to us again with another abatement for the very last house end of this year. If they're writing their own ticket, then they should be deducting on the first contract for not providing the services they agreed to provide. And that was to solicit bids and prepare bidding documents. So they didn't do 2 items of the original contract, yet they're asking to be paid for those items. So I'm wondering how we come about passing a contract for $21,000 on an addendum without any bids. And is there any kind of state law that, based on population of the town, that would require bidding without just somebody just writing their own ticket saying this is our bill?
Okay, anything more on that?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Cherry.
Well, let's start out with the trail on Second Avenue Southwest. Yes, in your agenda packet, with breakdown, we identify the cost for Division 1, which is Second Avenue Southwest, Division 2, which is Babcock South.
Mike, you want to use the microphone?
Okay. Yes, we track separately the costs between the Babcock Woods Trail and the Second Avenue. There are 2 different sources of funding on those, as well as 2 different sources of funding from the city. So yes, we diligently keep track of the quantities and break those out.
Thank you.
Regarding the asbestos abatement and testing and abatement, the agreement that we entered into with Cardinal ATC on January 5th identified that they would take care of identifying a contractor who could perform the scope of the abatement in a timely manner That was brought back to City Council on February 22nd, where it was reviewed and approved.
Thank you. Any more put there? Let's do a motion.
See if Dwayne, if you have any further questions on the Babcock one, since my.
It's been suggested, Mr. Little, that come back up. So we can expedite things. You want to speak on number 6 on the Heartland asphalt?
Do you have any further on that?
You have any?
No, but I do on the Cardinal, because I didn't hear anywhere in there that answer why there weren't bids solicited and why they were the only contractor that seemed to have been hired.
And Babcock Woods?
No, not on the Babcock Woods. There's,
No, I know, but go ahead. You want to comment on Babcock Woods?
no.
You're okay on that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, want to make sure. Okay.
I'm just looking through the January 5th one, and it does say that Cardinal was subcontracting through them for the abatement of that, so, yeah, the way I'm reading it.
Which bullet point are you reading?
And the summary was also in their letter to us in terms of 3.0 scope of services. Be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th bullet point that they would, scope of services work would be determined by the comments, or by the client. Documents would include drawings, bidding documents will include regulations. This next bullet is Cardinal ATC would solicit bids to reputable asbestos abatement companies in conjunction with approval from the city. A contractor will be selected to provide abatement services. The contractor will be subcontracted through Cardinal ATC.
Those are the same 2 bullet points I was referring to.
Right, and it's specifically saying that they would solicit it and they would subcontract through them, which seems.
Where's the solicitation, though? Who did they solicit? That's the question. I didn't see that.
Does it matter, I guess? I mean, we don't know who, when we built 10th Avenue, they subcontract that. We don't have any put in that, or,
And I think that's why they developed under page 3, the cost proposal, you'll see they have line items for asbestos survey, asbestos abatement, final inspection and clearance for the first 8 properties, and then for 6th Street Northwest, they do the same thing to break it down. To me, that shows they're doing the whole thing as one project through Cardinal. Mike, is that a standard process?
Yeah, but if you go to the February 22nd, we brought it back before council for review and approval, and that explained the timeline and what Cardinal's recommendation was at that time.
I think that
January
Mike is referring to,
February 22nd is when we presented,
there's no, February 22nd is not a council
not a
meeting.
council meeting on February 22nd.
16th or the 23rd was an agenda, study session. 16th was a regular council meeting. It wasn't January 22nd, was it? No, that's planning.
well, somewhere along the line, we did come back to the council for approval of the abatement contract.
And that information should be readily available to the council.
So, I mean, we're kind of blindsided by this, Dwayne, so, you're more than welcome to contact us
Yeah, that would be,
beforehand so we can get you the
Sorry,
information.
February 2nd.
it's a
Item
typo
number 3,
comment.
Resolution A. Resolution 1516, February 2nd, approving addendum to number 1, asbestos testing and abatement services.
Which date council meeting are you on?
February 2nd, 2015.
Yeah, it's not the 22nd, the 2nd.
Second.
Correct.
Typo.
Typo.
2-2, not 2-2.
Okay.
But I still didn't see any bids. They were supposed to solicit bids, and there weren't no bids solicited. And they were supposed to prepare bidding documents, which I didn't see any bidding documents prepared. On the January 5th council approval or the February 2nd council approval.
But your point is taken, and we'll have a motion, and the council will discuss it. Thank you. Is there a motion to accept consent calendar items number 2 and 6?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Council discussion.
Basically, the way I'm understanding is that ATC was hired as like the general contractor then, so just like we would hire PCI to do the road,
And they would find subs, yeah.
they found their own subs to do it, but they're not really required to come back to the city to get approval of that. I'm assuming they did their own bids to find their own subcontractors,
Right,
but we just,
that's right. And so here it shows, what we see here is that ATC, Cardinal ATC subcontracted to Advanced Environmental.
okay.
But that's the same concept.
And when you hire an overall contractor, you just assume that they're gonna take the lowest bid or find the right person to do it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's, Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, again, we did bring it back before council on February 2nd. And that's been established. And the testing and abatement was mapped out, not knowing exactly what would be found. And that to expedite the process, that Cardinal, having worked with lots of firms to do asbestos abatement, would be able to identify and recommend to the city council, recommend to the city, a firm that could do it in the timetable that we mapped out, which was to have it completed by March 30th and to have all the reports into the Iowa DNR. We did have the opportunity to bring that recommendation back to the city council on February 2nd prior to the work beginning.
If I recall, on a lot of the flood buyouts that we had to do the asbestos testing and abatement, in that process, a lot of that was rather open-ended too in terms of what the actual cost was, because we didn't know what the asbestos contamination might be in those buildings as we were going along. So there wasn't a specific dollar amount saying, we're going to spend this much on abatement. It was go find what's there, report to us how much it's going to cost to get rid of it, and then figure out.
Again, this was all done above the table, and if Mr. Little had an issue with it, he said he's been to every council meeting except a couple. He should have raised that issue on February 2nd when the council took that action item up. Not at the time when the work has been done and now the contractor is owed their payment.
More discussion? Are you ready for the question?
Yep. I call it.
All in favor of the motion to pass a consent calendar items number 2 and 6 signify with yes.
Yes.
Opposed with no. Unanimously approved. Regular business item number 1 is resolved to direct sale of $8,770,000 of general obligation bonds. City Administrator, how did we do?
Well, I think we did pretty well, but we'll have Jenny Blankenship from PFM tell us how we did.
Yes, Jenny.
Hi, everybody. Again, Jenny Blankenship, 801 Grand Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa. Here today to tell you about the results from the sale at 10 o'clock this morning. In front of you, you guys are getting familiar with these forms, but I set this in front of you again, which are the results from today's sale. As you can see, we received 5 bids. However, once again, there was 33 bankers that were involved, so there were several that had more than one syndicate, or more than one syndicate had several bankers in it. You'll see if you look at the true interest rate on the right-hand side there, that percentage, that BMO Capital Markets out of Chicago, Illinois, came in with a true interest rate of a 2.4111%. So that's the average, when you look at both the premiums, the discounts, as well as the, what they came in and purchased that for. So at this point in time, I guess I'd like to tell you guys, or to give you guys the opportunity to answer any questions that you may have, and see if there's anything else you need.
Okay, thank you.
But if I'm reading this correctly, that we actually lowered the amount of the aggregate, so the true interest rate went up just slightly, but it's still the lowest of the 5 bids.
Yeah, and no matter which bid it was, even if it was lower or higher than what the bids were there, when you take them all into consideration, we actually received a premium of $519,000. So essentially what that means is, back when we talked about this on your budget and everything, we had backed into specific tax rates, if you recall, on your debt service levy. And if we would have kept all of that extra money, that would have raised your debt service levy. And so we were able to, with the premium, actually decrease the par amount of the bond. So on all of these bids, they all would have been a premium. We would have decreased the par amount of all of them, so that we didn't get $516,000 or $519,000 more than we actually needed for our projects. So you're absolutely correct. We did decrease the par after we received that extra premium.
I just, for public's sake, that gets us to an interest rate of 2.4285 as opposed to 2.41.
Yep, and when I make my recommendations, I'll read those down there as well.
Okay.
So that it's on record. Anything else on the bids or the process?
Does it look good?
Yeah.
It does to me, but.
Yeah, it looks good to us too. It actually came in about 20 basis points lower than what our estimates were. So it fit right in with the information that we put out to you guys back in, I think, February, late January when we met. And so because of the projects that are involved, with the projects, I should say, that are involved, which part of it is being paid by the sales tax increment revenues that are coming in for the Dry Run Creek. Everything fits right within that debt service levy and those projections that we had put together. So I was very happy with the results, as well as the number of bidders that came to play today.
Is that because they like us?
Probably. You guys have a great credit.
Okay.
All right, well, if there are no other questions or anything, then PFM would like to make a formal recommendation. And the recommendation is to award the bonds that were originally $8,770,000 general obligation bond series 2015B to BMO Capital Markets at the original true interest rate of a 2.411%, which was later increased to 2.4285% after we decreased the par amount to $8,245,000.
Okay. Let's move right to a motion.
Move resolution 1575, directing the sale of $8,245,000 general obligation bond series 2015B through BMO Capital Markets. Is that the correct way to put that?
All right.
Sound good to you?
Yep.
Is there a second? Second. It's been motioned and seconded. Let's discuss.
Just more curiosity than anything. I mean, usually when, I don't know if I've seen one where it's just been one group.
Without
It's
the
always been a
syndicate?
syndicate. I mean, is that rare or is that average or, I don't know, just curious more than anything.
Say that, you
Well,
normally don't
all the ones
see
that I
syndicate.
remember, there's always usually been a syndicate. There's never been
Like
just
the R.W.
one
Baird
Oh,
single bidder.
yeah, I would say that Robert W. Baird, who got second today, who is a cover bid, they win a lot of paper in Iowa. I think usually they pull together such a large syndicate that they can based off of that syndicate, who's more interested, who thinks they can sell it to their markets, they're able to sharpen their pencil. But I have to say that this is where, when you're doing a deal like this that's very clean, general obligation, great credit, this is where the competitive process really comes into play, because you can see those two bids, they were only 5 basis points apart. So, I think that oftentimes with the syndicate, there are more people that come to play and possibly have the debt sold, which might be why you see that. But in this case, BMO must have really wanted the paper.
Very good. More discussion. I'd like to ask any public input before we actually vote here. Is there anyone the public would like to weigh in? Roll call vote, please.
Gade?
Yes.
Neuendorf?
Yes.
Lampy?
Yes.
Waldstein?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Reznicek?
Yes.
McKenzie?
Yes.
Resolution 1575 is unanimously approved, and thank you, Jenny.
All right, thank you
Yes.
so much. Take
Yes.
care.
Thank you for driving down. Regular business item number 2 concerns the winner of our golf course pond project bidding. Formal motion.
I'll move Resolution 1576 approving the bid received from Baker Concrete and excavation of Waverly for the golf course pond project for the maximum amount of $125,500 for the west 3 ponds.
Is there a second? Motion and second. Council discussion.
I guess just a general question, are we comfortable that conflicting schedules that plagued us last year are not going to plague us this year, I guess, with this contractor, and we'll get the work done on time? And
the contractor assured us that his workload lightens up a lot this fall, and that he's happy to do this.
More discussion?
Yeah, we had 3 bids, yeah. I mean, this, like the last one, there was just a single bid. So this, 3 bids, pretty wide range, too. So, I think this, comfortable with this.
Yeah, my just question and concern was that we're at 3 ponds as opposed to all of them, and that was our original goal, so how are we phasing that, or what does that impact long-term?
Right. In the memorandum, in the last part, it says that we'd probably be doing a project next year with the 2 east ponds, plus there's work to be done on the large pond between 13 and 17 that needs to be done too, so we thought maybe we'd try to combine that in a second project.
Yeah, my only concerns with that is we've hit budget-wise, it's almost the same amount for 3 as we were hoping to get 5, so it's almost like doubling the cost next year.
If we don't find any clay, if we find clay every place, we could probably do more ponds, but we can't take that risk, so we came with a conservative request to council.
More council? Mr. Gade? You've been watching over this one? Okay. Public input before we vote. Roll call vote, please.
McKenzie?
Yes.
Neuendorf?
Yes.
Lampy?
Yes.
Reznicek?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Gade?
Yes.
Waldstein?
Yes.
Resolution 15-76 is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Welcome. Regular business item number 3 is our final reading to rezone from agricultural to residential, 9 acres of land, which is on the southeast side of 2nd Avenue Northeast and 10th Street Northeast, which is, for the public, the old John Drosty property. Let's go right to a formal motion.
I'll move the third and final reading of ordinance 993, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning from agricultural district A1 to Residential District R1 for approximately 9 acres located on the southeast side of 2nd Avenue Northeast and 10th Street Northeast.
Second, please.
Second.
The motion and seconded. Council discussion. Public input before we vote. Roll call vote, please.
Waldstein.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Gade.
Yes.
Lampy.
Yes.
McKenzie.
Yes.
Neuendorf.
Yes.
Rosencheck.
Yes.
Ordinance 993 is unanimously approved. Regular business item number 4 is to rezone 1.3 acres of land within the 3,000 block of East Bremer Avenue from residential to commercial and to amend the comprehensive land use map to go from church to commercial. City Administrator, do we have any complications here? Or is that one clean?
Nothing I'm aware of, Bill. No.
If there are none, then I'd ask for a formal motion.
Move the third and final reading of ordinance 994, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning from residential district R1 to commercial district C2 for approximately 1.3 acres of 24.4 acre property located on the south side of and within the 3,000 block of East Bremer Avenue, and to amend the comprehensive land use plan map from church to commercial of said 1.3 acres.
Is motion and second and council discussion? Public input before we vote? Roll call vote, please.
Neuendorf.
Yes.
Waldstein.
Yes.
Gade.
Yes.
Rosencheck.
Yes.
Lampy.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
McKenzie.
Yes.
Ordinance 994 is unanimously approved. Regular business item number 5 is to rezone from R1 to R3, just under 3 acres of land on the northwest side of 2nd Avenue Northeast and 10th Street Northeast, just across the street from the old John Drosty property, again for location. For the public, this has had a public hearing, a first and second reading, and since it involves a public petition, this will require 6 votes to pass. Motion, please.
I would move third and final reading of ordinance 995, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning from residential district R1 to residential district R3 for approximately 2.7 acres located on the northwest side of 2nd Avenue Northeast and 10th Street Northeast.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Council discussion.
Has there been any movement on, we heard from the neighborhood at the public meeting that they still had the petition and a couple of them spoke. Has anyone withdrew their petition or anyone asked to not be on the petition anymore, or anyone come forward from the neighborhood to support it to the city, or?
There's been nobody that's expressed anything other than the 2 people that spoke at the last meeting. Nobody's asked to be removed from the petition. But we think we did address most of the concerns with regards to the agreement that we did with Mr. Dara. We can't make this a park out of private property unless we acquire it, so we can't do that. And the other concerns, I think, will be dealt with as the construction is done, whether it be water supply to the area, that kind of thing. I think those things can be handled as they're installed. But I think this is a good use of this property. We kind of pushed this with Mr. Darrow because we wanted to see this infill done here in a good manner that would be consistent with the rest of the neighborhood, and that would be safe for the community, safe for the people that would live in that particular area, by having a private drive as opposed to having all those lots front onto the street. So we think this is a good accommodation and will result in a good infill development for the community.
In all fairness, I should probably report that I did hear from one citizen who has not been at any of the meetings. I'm not sure, I didn't check this, whether her property even falls into the range, but she is in the neighborhood up there, and she did send me an email just expressing her support of the petition primarily because of the park issue. So that was one other voice that came since the last time we met that I can report.
Or discussion?
Again, I've probably had the most direct contact with those in the neighborhood, and I think there's still some concerns. There certainly feel much better with the development agreement that's been put in place, and I'd like to thank the developer for his willingness to work through that. But again, I think they're comfortable that their voice was heard, that their objections to the R3 being high-rise, those type of things were met. And now it's just going to be our job to make sure that we keep an eye on things so the drainage is taken care of and those type of things. So, again, I didn't have any contact with strong opposition after the agreement was put in place.
I just suggest that if anyone has any questions of Mr. Dara, he is here tonight, so if anybody thought that that was a missing piece of their decision-making, we'd be glad to answer any questions.
I guess last time I asked about the drive, if it was gonna be one-way or two-way, or, you know, there's a lot of discussion on the traffic on that curve, and if we were gonna allow people to enter from two areas, or make it like a one-way through there to make it safer, that kind of thing, but.
Well, we probably, we wouldn't make them make it a one-way because it's a private drive. We wouldn't expect there to be that much traffic since it's only 10 units, and usually you won't have a real rush of traffic generally. We think that making the drive go all the way through from one end to the other will make it somewhat safer in that you can spread it out a little bit, but also the garbage trucks won't have to turn around and service place vehicles, so that was the best compromise for that situation.
And the drives again would start, I mean, you'll go from Second Avenue, take a left to go to the normal street, but then you'll go one house and that drive will go right wherever their backyard kind of ends, that private drive will start.
The private drive, yeah, would go in about a northeast direction, and it'll start with one lot, so to speak, or one building area before it would start, right? So they could put a house on that, a building on that area. And the same would be true on the other end.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
That intersection is also going to be redone to some extent because there's going to be a road coming into that from the other side now, development, so. Hopefully we'll have traffic enforcement and maybe some signage and things that will make that area safer.
More discussion? Public input? Roll call vote.
Kangas.
Yes.
Rosencheck.
Yes?
Neuendorf.
Yes.
Gade.
No.
McKenzie.
Yes.
Lampy.
Yes.
Waldstein.
Yes.
The third and final reading of ordinance 995 is approved by a 6-1 vote. Regular business item number 6 is our agenda timeline process. Came up last week. I recommended that go to general discussion, but it came back as petition, so I'd ask Councilman Resnicek to kind of make a statement here on what you're looking for here.
Yeah, I guess to address, Dan made a comment that it was late coming in, so really this actually highlights much of the reason why I wanted to do this. So I got the agenda, we all got the agenda sometime on Thursday, and I was looking through it and I noticed it wasn't on there and kind of thought, you know, where'd it go? So I just asked if I could get it back on the agenda to keep it moving, as opposed to just let it drop. That was my intent, to keep it moving. And so made the request to put it on the agenda within the current law. So here it is. And then in the meantime, Bill has offered to draft the actual ordinance, which is actually, I know Dan had mentioned that what I brought forward last time was weak, as he said, but this was actually a fraction of what I proposed the first time. So I think it's very simple, and this is what I intended, basically adding to section 10.8. And I think Bill did a very good job. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Bill, but he actually simplified it even more So really, all that was proposed to add, and if you want to look at this, or maybe, Bill, if you're gonna show it, but really to, and what we talked about the last time, except in the case of emergency or exceptional circumstances, the tentative agenda shall be posted, and that's the same language it is today, but adding at least 7 days prior to the date of the meeting. And there's a line in there, and there's a line in there talking about the information for the tentative agenda would be distributed by email. I guess I suggested maybe we could take that off. I know Carla does that as a service. I didn't know if we needed that necessarily, and suggested we add putting on the website since we have that. Bill has come back and actually suggested that we don't have it on the website because we do that as well. So, and I think that'll cover
I can
it.
just speak to what I did here. I even simplified it from this afternoon when I was exchanging. And we really just made it so that it said the tentative agenda shall be posted in a prominent place, which is accessible to the public and clearly designated for that purpose at City Hall, and available to the public at least 7 days prior to the date of the meeting. We took out the website because we don't want to, if our website goes down and we can't do it, we don't want to not be able to do it for that reason. So at least we can post it, that's the minimum, but we know that we will be putting it on the website, and we will be distributing it by email to those entities that ask for notice. But that's kind of above and beyond the law, and so we've just kind of defined it down to the narrow requirements of the law, and that's just to move the posting date to 7 days ahead of time. So that's as simple as this. I'm the only one that has this one because I just handed the last part of it to you right there. So that's what it looks like on your screen.
Basically, all we would be adding to the existing code is just, instead of 24 hours, make it 7 days.
Right. That's right. We'd be enlarging the law, what the law requires, and that's 24 hours notice. But I did put in the exception language for emergency or exceptional circumstances in which I think this council can make that determination when they approve the agenda item, when they come here on Monday. If we do something between the previous Monday and the Monday of the meeting, this body can make a finding that it was an emergency or exceptional circumstance.
We do that today.
Can you zoom that out just a little bit, because on the left side, it looks like it's getting cut off, just a little bit.
The zoom out button?
Isn't the emergency and exception language already in there today for?
Yes, it is in there.
Yeah.
So this would be the language I proposed, the one that's on your screen as opposed to the one that was in your, on the packet.
Yeah, we use the emergency and exceptional for study session votes.
Right.
That's where that comes from.
Where that comes
Right.
Yep.
It comes to the same language
Yep.
we talked about last Monday.
Yep. No.
And again, this would be, the rule would be 7 days, but there may be times when it has to be done quicker, and that way we'd have that exception that we can make that finding on the Monday of the meeting.
So the exceptions are just whatever we decide is an exception?
I mean, if you state what the reason is for the emergency or the exceptional circumstances, I think this body can judge what that is.
Why don't we get those wonderful federal grants that get dropped on us in the last
I mean, it's no,
48
yeah,
hours?
but it's no different now if something comes on the agenda today that we, you know.
Well, the difference is state law is 24 hours. We're making this 7 times more stringent than state law
For regular business.
for regular business.
Right, so.
And we're not really defining exceptional, in case of emergency or exceptional circumstances, we're just kind of leaving it vague and saying, anytime we have something that we want to get on at the last minute, we can call it an exceptional circumstance and put it on.
So because this is an ordinance, and if something gets added and we decide that it wasn't exceptional, did whoever added that break the law because we decided it wasn't exceptional?
Well, what happens is you make a finding at the time you have the hearing, or at the meeting, when you have this agenda and you approve it, you make a finding of what your exceptional circumstances were, what your emergency was. And if anybody wanted to contest the action of the council, then they would contest that by saying it really wasn't exceptional or emergency. Would they try to void action that the council took during that process? Generally, it'd have to be somebody that might be aggrieved by the action you might take, or would have an objection to the action you take on an abbreviated agenda. And theoretically, a judge could say you didn't
They'd
follow
have to
the
do that in court.
ordinance. They'd have to do it
They
in
don't
court.
do that with the
And the
council.
council would have to approve it to be added to the agenda anyway.
Right.
We'd have to all agree on it.
Well,
And that same language has been used for every single study session we've ever had. So anytime we've ever had regular business on a study session, that's the language that's been used to put that business on.
So we should, in that case, we should cross out the word tentative in this, because it's no longer tentative, this is the agenda.
But it can't be the agenda until you adopt it.
Right, it's always a tentative until you die, yeah.
That's the wording that's in the current ordinance today, yeah.
You know, I think it's something like, someone the last minute, you know, didn't get their liquor license application, you know, it's Wednesday or Thursday,
Right.
you know, and it expires in the week, I would consider that okay to put on an agenda for a couple days. I mean,
I was thinking more like we had a bond thing that remember that we had to do.
Sure.
You know, liquor license, I mean, if they're gonna close the business down.
right, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
obviously,
I just,
but
want
that
to make
was
sure stuff like that doesn't get,
huge-
nothing like that
huge
gets.
things, yeah. Like a
Deadline for a grant application, something that we have to get in. Yeah.
slipped or something, and we need to.
And as demonstrated tonight, too, you can always vote to not allow it on the agenda.
Right.
What, the other question I have then is, the original one you had, and the one that concerned me too, was the idea of having the supporting information included with that tentative agenda, and that's no longer in this one, which that, I guess, was concerning to me, because that puts an extra burden on staff to have stuff, and we don't always have those numbers immediately there, which was my thought originally. I'm supportive of moving up the idea of getting an outline of the agenda, what's coming up, so that we at least know or can start asking questions about things earlier in the week.
I guess I don't want to complicate this, though. I think the intent here is the full agenda.
Well, it doesn't say that and doesn't say that here, but again.
But this is the wording in the, so today.
But this is my problem with putting it in the law. When you put it in the code, it is law, it is firm, there is no, you know, wishy-washy, oh, we decided we made this exceptional circumstance every week for the next, 2 years.
But this is the wording today, though.
But Dave, the give and take that you and I had today, I took out the information, the supporting documentation. I mean,
That is
because
not
the
the
agenda is
agenda.
what's
Yeah,
required by law.
That's supporting documentation, which is different from the agenda.
What we would like is some direction from, I mean, the staff would like a direction, if you want it earlier, is it okay that we do it Wednesday for most of the documentation that we can give you? I mean, that's.
I would like it as early as we can get, but I don't want to tie staff's hands by making it the law that it's 7 days ahead of time that they have to have the supporting documentation and everything in, especially, we have multiple times where even like today, we didn't get the bids on the bonds until today.
Because they were
There's
taken
no
at 10
way-
o'clock.
There's no way to do that a week ahead of time, or we just push the bonds back, that we got the bid for the bonds, now we gotta wait 2 weeks until we actually accept the bonds, which seems ridiculous to me. But that's, I guess, my biggest objection to putting it into the law as opposed to making it a resolution, which is our policy, as opposed to law, putting it in the code. That's the distinction there, is we've got more wiggle room when it's policy to be able to adjust and adapt for things that come up, whereas we make it the law, it's the law, somebody gets aggrieved about it, they take it to court, the law says this, and the judge decides that our exception really wasn't a good exception, now we've just
Yeah, but
wasted a whole bunch of
your case, then, if that's what you're saying, we couldn't have voted on these bonds today because we didn't get them till just now. So that didn't fit the 24 hour, that's less than 24 hours.
It was on the agenda, the bonds.
Yeah,
Right.
bonds.
We didn't
So
have
I
the
guess I don't
final.
understand what you're saying.
No, what he's
Well,
saying is.
we wouldn't have been able to
right.
vote on it today. If
No,
we
we
vote on
would.
this,
It's
we
the
would
same
not be able
case.
to.
Because the agenda was out 24 hours notice ahead of time. We got the information when I walked in, it was sitting in front of my chair, and we still voted on it.
And if we had if the idea, and as Dave seems to be kind of hesitating, that he wants that supporting data included in that 7 days prior, we would not have been able to vote on that today.
If it's law
It would
versus a
not have been legal
resolution.
for us to vote on.
Mayor, if I
It's
could,
actually no different than, I guess I don't want to complicate this. It's no different than if this was 7 days or the 24 hours, we still didn't have the information, so.
We had the
But you-
bond, the vote on the bond was on the agenda.
What the law is having the action item on the agenda. It's
Sure.
not,
Yeah.
doesn't say anything about the supporting documents or anything else. It's just, you have to have a published agenda with the action council proposes to take. So if it wouldn't
Fine
have,
with that. I'm fine with that.
That's
if
what
you
this
have-
is. That's what
Normally
this
we-
one is.
Yeah, normally we would
Not
have
the
the
one in front of you
supporting-
on that you got in the packet, but the one I,
That was my concern as I was looking at this, is it had the supporting documentation. I'm still, I worry about the emergency or exceptional circumstances that any council can suddenly decide, you know, with a pen and a phone, that they can decide what is, you know, emergency or exceptional and kind of wave it all off. That when you put it into law that way, it just becomes.
That's already in it's already in our law, though.
It's already there.
It's already there.
Just a question to David.
If you don't like it, we can take it out of what's already there.
No,
it's
but
already
you,
there.
you have to remember, the code only speaks to the one-page cover document. That's what gets posted in that is the law.
That's the law.
Yes.
Right.
I know.
Right, and
Right,
so the
yeah.
debate is this being asked for just that one-page cover document? Or is it
Well,
asked for the
according to
entire
law,
packet?
I think that's all we can ask for, but obviously, as I think all agree on, we would like as much information as soon as humanly possible.
So what goes in the code? That's, I think, the question here.
Well, the code
Mayor,
is
if I
right in front
could,
of us.
when
Yes,
it's time.
Mr. McKenzie?
I see this conversation going exactly the same way it did the last time we visited on this. Dave has a very specific idea in mind, if I understand it. He wants the agenda out and the supporting material out a week ahead of time. As we talk through it, everybody waters that request down to, we'll put the bullet points out there a week ahead of time, and when the detail comes in, it comes in. And I just don't want to spend a lot of time talking again on something that Dave isn't shooting for. So maybe we could have him restate what he's looking for so that we all stick on that point.
Before we do that, just a question to David, if it's okay. I was thinking that if we had the proposed agenda out on a Monday, so that the public was alert and we made sure that this reached the newspaper before its deadline, that we would have full coverage out into the public that would allow them in on the process earlier. And if we could then go to a Wednesday, just before a deadline for newspaper, that we all receive, including the newspaper, the full agenda, that's taken advantage of modern everything in communications and texting and everything in between. That allows us move from Friday, originally that moved to Thursday. Now if we move that final to Wednesday, it allows for the living document and all this input to still take place as this agenda grows during the week, and the efficiency of government improves. The longer we wait, the more so we're both cutting in the public, it seems to me, and we are allowing something that seems reasonable for us as a city government. Does that seem reasonable, or you want to object to that?
Yeah, I guess I wasn't making it complicated. Even after we went home that night, I was thinking we wouldn't really have to, it's almost how we state it. We don't have to move it ahead. Basically, the agenda and all the supporting information can be due the same day as it is today, even a day later on Friday. We just don't act on it until the following week. I mean, my original intent was just to have the agenda. And I'm sorry, I didn't intend to get into all the discussion of if we should have these and that and the bullets.
Mm-hmm.
The intent was just to have all the agenda and understanding that there's going to be circumstances like with what we talked about tonight, that there'll be circumstances where things can't be in the agenda because
Okay.
it hasn't happened. And I guess that was my intent. I didn't mean to complicate it. So,
Dave, can you just say what you understand agenda to mean?
when you go online and you can click on the documents and you can see the documents.
So you mean the supporting materials also?
Yeah. So
Which
and
I
that's
think
what we need.
strictly speaking, I mean, I'm just,
Yeah,
I just want to
yeah.
understand you. Because agenda, I think, is only the items that we will be acting on, not the supporting materials that we typically get. So if we have language in code or in resolution or wherever it is, and it says agenda, I think we need to be clear on what we're understanding there, because I think your definition of it is different than my definition of it. So just as long as we understand what we're talking about.
What I was suggesting for compromise is the proposed agenda coming out on Monday so that everybody knows the topics. And then the full agenda coming out on Wednesday. And that, what?
Full tentative agenda.
Full tentative agenda. So really, what we do on Thursday moves to Wednesday, and that's what I was asking David to.
And when you say
react
full
to.
agenda, Mayor, you mean the agenda and the supporting documents?
Correct. Thank you.
I mean, yeah, but basically Dave's saying getting the supporting documents on Thursday or Friday is not enough time. And I agree with that. I mean, it'd be nice to have that Tuesday, Wednesday, 7 days prior. So what time on Monday would you think that would be? End of day Monday? I mean, end of day Monday, it's not going to make the Tuesday paper. I mean, I traded some emails with Anelia today, and you know, if you want something to make the Tuesday paper, it's considered a public service announcement, so they don't even, you know, they'll print it if they have room.
If they can.
You know, if she would like that Friday, ideally. So if we're only saying Monday, so it can has a better chance of getting in the paper, we maybe should even consider, you know, buying ad space and make sure it's in the Thursday paper every time, because it could not make the Tuesday paper or the Thursday paper. I don't know how often it does make it or not make it.
What do you think, maybe,
50-50.
yeah, once a month?
I mean, and I think we need to realize, had an opportunity to go around to some graduation open house this weekend, and this topic came up based on our conversation, and half the people that talked to me says we unfortunately don't even get the Waverly paper. So if we think that's our vehicle to get this to the public, I think we're overestimating its reach and impact.
But, you know, like I want to just,
But
I mean, it's the information that we want I think Dave wants the information sooner, and I do too. It'd be nice to have that, not Thursday or Friday, it'd be nice to have that earlier, the detailed information. Whether the tentative agenda comes out Monday or Tuesday doesn't really matter to me.
But this code, as it's written, is not about us getting materials at a
Right.
particular time. This is about public notice.
Right.
Which I think is a great step in the right direction. I think this could be followed up with some policy to help us get the information sooner. You know, as Dan says, people don't get the paper, but it's not just always for the public. The public has put trust in us to make decisions. And if I'm not comfortable with getting stuff on Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock and have enough time to read through pages and pages of stuff by Monday, you know, they're putting their trust in me to make a vote, and I would feel much more comfortable getting that information sooner as well, and also have the public have that ability to have it sooner. So whether they get it through the paper, they go through our website, they see it on the Facebook page, however they see it, or they choose not to see it. But they've also voted for us to make sure that we can read and have enough time to go through and ask all the questions that we need to ask before we vote on a Monday. And getting it Thursday at 4 o'clock just isn't enough time most of the time.
What would you be comfortable with a Wednesday?
I would rather have it Tuesday. I mean, I don't know. I would like to vote on this so that the agenda is out and maybe could make Tuesday and Thursday's paper, whichever one. And then if we need to work on a policy, since we evidently can't, I mean, I think we could make it law, but I don't know if everyone would agree with that.
Is there a reason that the law couldn't be having it on Monday and the supporting information is there if possible? And
Right. I mean,
I guess I don't want to say it's, we send it out to the paper on Monday, and then Wednesday we have this, and then it'll get confusing. So maybe if we have all the information, it's there. If there's circumstances where we can't get it, we understand that. Like
That's
I'm
how-
saying
that I can understand.
I didn't want to complicate this.
Yeah,
so-
but I think that if I heard you right, that, and I was suggesting that as well, that on Monday, when we have supporting document, this is our proposed agenda, and we got the da-da-da-da-da. Let it live until Wednesday. Then we all receive it on Wednesday. It's a whole day earlier. That's huge. It allows our staff to have a living document. It allows the rhythm of Waverly as we've known it all through the years to still exist. And I would think that then the public is in on it. It's honoring what Dave is originally reaching for in spirit.
Well, and I guess, and that's kind of been my point with having, at least that, having the outline, not necessarily all the supporting documents, because then, as Wes said, it is our job to look at that and go, oh, what the heck is this item, and how do we find out information about it? Well, the way we find out information about it is right there. That's who we contact. And it's also gonna help him then relay that to staff to be able to say, hey, we're getting questions on this, this, and this. When you get that document, we need that memo for the final agenda. You need to be addressing these concerns right now, as opposed to saying, we're gonna guess what councils are gonna be asking on Monday and have it in the packet on Monday, and then council starts asking other things, and now we have to look at changing it, and now we're getting into the trouble of changing it, and oh, you told us this information on Monday, and now you're telling us different information on Thursday. That, you know, and to the point of not wanting to complicate it, that's a resolution, is not being complicated, the policy. Changing city code is probably the most complicated process that avenue you could have chosen to do this. That's my
Yeah, but
my
this
comment
change
on it.
is very, very simple. It's a one sentence.
Yeah, it's a sentence.
Just adding 3 words to what, but.
If I could, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, a couple
Councilwoman?
of things. I don't want to, I want to remind us that there were a couple of comments made in the discussion last week, about the confusion of two agendas on Monday. And I want to also, I guess, reiterate what someone else already brought up today, and that is, I guess it was Tim, about how much this affects staff, especially given that we probably will have to say, I'm guessing, end of day Monday, which goes to Chris's point about it not being able to even get in the paper on Tuesday. So why don't we just compromise a little bit and use Tuesday or Wednesday for the whole schmear? And then, you know, and then we have addressed some of those other questions. We're still getting it a lot earlier. We're only talking about the tentative agenda, the supporting documents. The staff has more time then to actually add as many as possible, even though they wouldn't be fully due till later. I don't know why we've kind of got hung up on this a whole week in advance, and, you know, maybe a good compromise would be Tuesday or Wednesday for everything.
That's why,
Although in code, I agree, you would not want the supporting materials in code.
this is why it takes
Possible by
discussion.
Tuesday. And I guess what I was thinking if, I mean, a lot of these, I mean, if you look at, a lot of this stuff happens months and years ahead of time, and I guess my goal wasn't to have people work harder, but just kind of shift when we do it. So,
I can tell you, even the repeat agendas, like for zoning agendas, at least 4 or 5 people touch them by the time they come out. And so when those are coming in towards the middle of the week, ahead of the week of the council meeting, then they get processed through. They get to me usually Monday or Tuesday, so we can get them finalized Wednesday, out on Thursday. So everything, even repeats, go through the process. And I think that is Tuesday possible? Yes. End of day Tuesday is a lot more doable than Monday, because Monday is a full council day, and so we're always working for Monday night. The other thing is, I think Wes made a good point earlier about this speaks to notice. You can put all the notice and the agenda stuff here, and then I think you quickly follow up with the policies that say supporting documentation, how do things get on the agenda, how do things get off, all of that. And I too would caution what goes into the code, because we're talking about processes, but we're also talking about legalities. And so then you get into the whole notion of this is the law, and the laws are meant for rigidity in certain aspects. That's why we have boards of adjustments. That's why we have officers to interpret and apply, whereas policies are meant to guide us and to process. And to the question about what can we do, we can figure out how to do what you need, and we will make it work. We'll move things around. Will it be cumbersome at times? Sure, because then if it's only exceptional or emergencies, who gets to determine that and when it gets to come to the council? So I think those are just some questions from the applicability side that we would have of the weekly administration of it. But we can figure that out as we go along. It's up to the council to determine.
You know, and as you were just I agree with a lot of what you said, and to me, I don't see your weekly, and, I mean, you can totally tell me I'm BS, but if you just kept your same process you have now, and 3 or 4 people touch that document, you get it on Wednesday, you finish it on Thursday, that just means it goes on the next council. I mean, you don't change what you're doing, it's just now it'll be out, you'll have it ready by Monday so that it's on the next council meeting, and all that's done, and then you move on. You're always 1 week ahead.
And,
I mean, to me,
and
you're
that's what we
planning-
would have to do. We can't, most things are such that if it takes 3 readings, it's kind of planned out. When does the 3rd reading hit so the project can start, or the financing can go, or the program? So some things would wait until 2 weeks later for that business meeting, but most things we would try to just move up so that they can stay on that schedule, because many of our things we do work backwards so that we time it right for you. And so it would just split depending on the issue in the day.
But yeah, it could decide, but again, if you knew when your timeline to start the process, the
And we would just
instruction
work
was, you
backwards
would
from
back
that.
into that and know, okay, well, we gotta start that 5 days earlier than we would have before.
Right,
I mean, is that-
exactly. That's accurate.
Okay.
I still like to have the structure at least. I mean, the tentative agreement even without the supporting documents on Monday. I think that makes sense. It gives you a guideline. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you give a guideline to work off of for the week.
What's the difference between doing it as an ordinance? I mean, we passed a resolution, that's, because to me, this makes more sense as a resolution than a hard and fast ordinance.
Because we already have
if-
the state law, is that what you're?
The way it is now, it says we're supposed to give notice reasonably calculated to apprise the public of that information, which is the notice of the agenda. The law says, the state law says 24 hours. So that's our fallback. We basically use the state law now.
And what does our current city code say? Read that again.
It doesn't say, it just
doesn't
says,
say-
we use general
okay.
language that basically says,
And I tried to search for a couple, maybe I couldn't find, I tried to search for a couple of cities like Decorah and Cedar Falls, what they had, and I couldn't find anything, because I'm guessing they
just use the law.
They just use the state law, but they maybe have a resolution, and every 2 years when we got a new council, that comes up again, so this is what we've been doing. So,
I guess that's.
it seems to me more of a resolution maybe than an ordinance, you know.
That's what I'm saying, is
The only reason I did an ordinance was if the general public wants to see when they can get an agenda, they have someplace to look. Where would I look for an ordinance, or for a resolution?
Well, typically what we do, all your resolutions are in the agenda manager and the minutes online, just like we do for business meetings. But if you're talking about council procedures, that's something that we would put right on the website under city council. So they could see how long they get to talk, when they get to address, how long are public hearings on land use, how long are appeals, what's the typical order. If I want to talk about public comments, do I know that that's going to be number 4, or is that going to be number 8? And things that we've talked about and talked around here just get written in black and white and put
You
on the
can
website.
do that now, though. I mean, we have a pretty set in stone public comment.
But nothing's ever been adopted.
We've never adopted a resolution, so.
Adopted anything. That's
But,
what
I mean,
those
that's,
policies, procedures
was a
would be
resolution
for.
be,
I think they'd be
I mean,
helpful.
a better route, Dave? I mean,
Just so we get it, I guess, is,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
That's what I would say
We
would be the
could have just done
resolution.
it. I mean, I don't know why we just didn't do it.
if we do the resolution instead of the ordinance, then we don't need the emergency or exceptional circumstances, because it's 24 hours. That's the rule.
We just go back.
and if something gets added on Sunday, and then, you know, we come here Monday, we'll take it off, right? I mean,
That's
we
right.
don't.
If you don't think it's an emergency, you.
Yeah,
can
if we don't think it's
take it
emergency,
off.
we're gonna take it off.
Yeah, even if it's 24 hours.
And
I think
in the
that-
resolution, you can put the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, whenever you want. Put that in the resolution as the guideline for the framework for when agendas are published and when supporting materials are published.
I think that makes a lot more sense, and to me, it sounds like it's the spirit of what Dave is proposing, and all of us are saying that it would be nice to have it a little bit earlier. I guess we're disagreeing maybe just a bit on how much earlier, but it sounds like at least the resolution is the simplest way to go, rather than code.
And it's one vote, no public hearing, and those kinds of things.
Exactly, and that's my concern with the code, is if we were to put it in code and find that it's not working or becoming troublesome, it's gonna take us 2 months to get it out of the code, because we have to go through the same process of 3 hearings and et cetera. So I think a resolution gives us the flexibility and accomplishes What I've been asking for a while since I've been on council is that earlier notice and earlier information. And actually, it has moved up a little bit from when I first started, because we were getting it on Fridays a few times when I first started 6 years ago. We had stuff that we wouldn't get till Friday for the information. It got the Thursday, which was certainly nicer than Friday. And I think even then I was asking for at least like Tuesday or something. Just give us just that little bit more time, which is what we're wanting.
I'm wondering, Mr. Cherry, you were talking last time, about paying of bills and that rhythm. I've seen just being part of this for quite a while now. There's like the whole the agenda keeps evolving for a couple of days, and I can see the advantage of earlier, but I want to be, from my perspective, it needs to be balanced with, can we pay, is it going to affect us in the paying of so many bills that you bring before us?
Well, it doesn't affect me, it affects the businesses in the community.
Well, that's, yeah, because we want to run it efficiently. And what I'm worried about is we're going to lose efficiency for our comfort level. But we got a balance here, so.
I mean, certainly you could. I mean, we know that, you know, we cut, with contracts, we cut payment off through Friday, because that's the standard industry practice. Foremen then, over the weekend, are compiling their numbers to report back to their office. So that has always worked well, is to do the cutoff on Fridays. We will, from what I'm hearing, we will be able to put on the tentative agenda that, you know, we're going to have, you know, 3 or 4 different contractor pay estimates. I may not have the signed paperwork until Tuesday, but it sounds like that's okay. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll actually have the signed documents that we'll be able to go out with the agenda packets on Wednesday.
So you recognize the fact that the contractor needs to be paid, you just don't know exactly how much yet.
Right. So we can put placeholders on there of the contractor, the project.
Right. I usually do Monday morning, but I may not have a signed pay app until Tuesday.
So we can, those are the types of things we would just add in as we went along. But you would know it was on the agenda.
It allows those businesses to start to adjust to our schedule a little bit too, that they would, you know, and Mike talked about that they plan when they have to get that documentation in, and so as they learn that we want it a little bit earlier, they'll shift, but they're not gonna get, we're not gonna bind ourselves up by slapping them on the wrist early and just kind of encouraging them to move their timelines up a little bit.
Well, they'll probably do that once.
Yeah.
Well,
And after that.
But $150,000 at once is, you know, not a.
Well, they're also used to dealing with the state, some of these contractors too, so you can imagine what that's like.
Yeah. So I was curious. I don't want to cause a ripple effect, so I called a couple of our more common contractors, and they had no issue with it. Said it would affect them, it would not affect them, so, because I was concerned when I started, so I guess I wanted to make sure that I didn't cause those kind of problems, because Mike had brought it up, and they assured me that it would not be an issue.
So, what are we doing?
What do we do?
We can write a resolution on the fly?
All in favor, say aye.
No.
Do you want to
Well,
come
it
up
didn't
with
say
one
we
for
were
the?
voting on
Do you
a
want
resolution.
to come back in the
yeah,
essence
this
of
is,
time? You wanna come back at a later time?
Write
an official resolution?
Yeah.
We have the policies that I'll email out that talked about all the procedures. We cleared up, there was some stuff in there, cell phones, we took all that out, about who can talk, but we took a lot of that stuff out. And it gets down to when do things come out, what's the order, so I can email that out to the group to review, and we can talk about it next.
We were scheduled to talk about this the next.
And that would be a
meeting anyway.
resolution? That would
Would
be in
all-
the form of a resolution?
What it would be is it would be a policy that would be adopted by resolution.
I guess my only concern with that is, what I ask is that the last time we went through that, there was a lot of stuff in there that I think we would discuss forever.
I
A lot
think
of stuff
we
I
could
didn't agree with.
accomplish.
If we can make that very, very simple. Otherwise, I'm back to, let's make this law.
Well,
I can just stick my feet in the ground, but if.
Well, or a resolution. I mean, you could go
Yeah.
back to that, Dave,
Yeah.
too, just to take your part out and make it a resolution. But I would suggest we at least give it a shot. If Phil says that he's taken a lot of things out, he listened to what we said before, it's a simpler document, it includes stuff like this. Why don't we look at it, and if there's too much conversation, I mean, we've already had a lot of conversation around this. So, I mean, but now we understand, I think, what you're trying to get at, and we could still always go back to that.
That's my fear, well, not fear, my thought that's probably likely gonna happen. I guess fear may not be the right word. I'm pretty sure that's just from history, studying what we've done here with just this particular portion of it that we are going to talk about and spend quite a bit of time on it. So, I'm not so sure I wanna bring the whole document. I agree, I want to do the whole document at some point. I think it needs to be done. I think we've demonstrated that we need to have some, more formal things in place that we actually follow as guiding lines for us. But I think to settle and deal with this issue, we've already spent 3 council meetings talking about this, and I think we've gotten to a point where everybody's on board. And so if Dave wants to write the resolution or propose a resolution for 2 weeks from now, I'm all on board with doing this as a resolution. As I said, my concern was putting it into code, and I think we need to get it put in as a resolution specifically for the 7 days and try to get that in place and do that, and then we can attack the other issues. Even if we attack those piecemeal one by one, some of them may go off the board pretty easily, some of them may take us a little more time to work through. But I think once we get through that, then we've got a working document for future councils then to be able to look at and say, we want to tweak this or tweak that. But right now, if we bring the whole document, I could see, this being more, talking of a long time on this. I think we want to get this, and I think that's what Dave wanted was to get this done, and I think a resolution form, I'm all for doing that and moving forward with that purpose.
I would agree with that. We're 6 months away from a new council, and that big thing might be let's kick that can down the road.
Well, I don't think we need to kick
future council deal with the whole thing. I mean, I think that's something we should, that should something that each new council should adopt every 2 years.
It should be, but I think we can attack parts of that.
And it will, but let me suggest that, David, if you'd be willing to work with Phil and Bill on that, it would be helpful for me. Okay, reports from the boards and commissions. We have the Golf Commission from April 14th.
Just for Carla's paperwork, we have to do something with this?
No,
Just died?
No, it just says proposition, right?
yeah, just contact me.
Oh, okay.
No one made a motion on it, so, yeah.
Okay.
Is there any comments on the Golf Commission minutes?
I would just state, the transition from Mason to Jordan has gone really well, and there's been some good outings. I actually golfed in the Exchange Club outing this Saturday, and it was a fight for hunger, and was very well done, and course is in good shape, and country club's doing good shape, and so things look good up there.
Thank you. Officially received Leisure Services Commission minutes, April 16th. Any comments? Officially received Economic Development Commission minutes, April 14th. Any comments?
I wonder maybe, could this be I was just reading through the minutes, this could be a good discussion topic for a meeting coming up, maybe?
We've got it on the agenda for the 18th, since we don't have a study session this month.
Okay.
As a study topic, not as an action topic.
Because there's a lot of good things, I've been keeping up with the minutes and stuff, it might be good to review it all.
Yep, that's what we planned on.
Thank you. Officially received staff comments.
Just a few, Mayor. I don't know if Mike wants to go over any construction updates as they keep working in between raindrops this week. Do you have anything for the group? Go to the order. Dirt is moving around town, so we'll leave it at that. Dog park fencing, we're working with our parking lot contractor to go around with their equipment and build up some areas in the small dog area so that the fencing gaps are minimized. We're also reviewing the possibility of locking it down until the whole project is done in June, because we move right now from parking lots into pavers, and then from there into water lines and fountain installation. So there's gonna be a lot of work right around the access area, so we're kind of, Tab and I are going over the merits of that. Like Bill said, we're gonna be talking about Economic Development Commission policy for residential development on the 18th. This Wednesday, Debbie Durham, the Director of Iowa Economic Development Authority, is in town for a young woman entrepreneurial conference with the college. And then Bill and I will be at the Des Moines Smart Economic Development Conference, also hosted by the state of Iowa, on Thursday. The 13th, next week, we have our Years of Service luncheon, where we celebrate years of service in 5-year increments. And I just want to read off real quick. Scott Brown in our Streets Department is celebrating 35 years of service this year. Stuart Menzel at the WPC out at the wastewater plant is 30 years. Captain Don Eggleston with the police department is celebrating 20 years. Our own Carla Geyer is celebrating 10 years. And Al Learhoff in solid waste is also celebrating 10 years. So just a great thank you to those folks for their dedication and loyalty to the organization.
May they hear our applause.
That's all I have.
Okay, council comments. Dan, David.
Got a couple things real quick. If folks haven't heard, there was some more new press, good press on Waverly, I guess, a week or so ago. Waverly was labeled as the #1 place in Iowa for places to be for young families. Again, it alluded to our cost of living and some of the social things that we have going on in the community and that type of thing. So again, another group that put Waverly very high on a state or national level. And then I was at the Chamber Board meeting, and they shared a little information from Main Street, Iowa, and IEDA as far as their current assessment of the economics in Waverly. And I would hope we could get both of these on the city website. There's very good information here. It shows that 68% of the housing stock in Waverly falls under the $200,000 level. So I think we struggle sometimes with affordable housing issues, that type of thing, and gives a good breakdown of the stock there. When you get looking at the actual marketplace profile, it's very clear that Waverly is a very large footprint draw, brings a lot of commuters, a lot of shoppers into the Waverly district. In some cases, we're overselling what a community our size should sell, 40%, 50%. So I think we are certainly benefiting the businesses in town, as well as there's potential for new businesses to come and help out there. And it's just good reading when you go through it. And it's a little bit of a change from 2 years ago, where we saw our population possibly taking its first decline in decades, to where we're at least back at a break even or a slight increase in the next couple of years. So good reading if folks could have access to it.
Thank you, and coming from you, that's very important. And thank you for your chamber vigilance, too. You're part of the pulse. Dan Lampe, anything you'd like to say? Mr. David?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Tim?
I was just, I mean, Phil kind of talked on the construction, but I didn't know if there was anything with, again, the moving of the streets down there for where it connects for the soccer field, or are they gonna be closing?
Oh, yes, that's took place this afternoon. So all the soccer moms and soccer dads are, if you need to access the north parking lot through Eliason Addition, you had been using 3rd Street, now you need to shift over and use 1st Street. And then you'll be directed to drive for a few hundred feet on the parkway to get to the parking lot.
Leave a little bit there. Okay, and then the other one I had was, it's been for a few weeks now that at 5th Street and 7th Avenue, there's been a cone kind of on a manhole cover there. It was there for a cone and a small barricade it's been there for a couple weeks, and I noticed today there's about 4 or 5 cones and a larger barricade there, kind of a dugout.
Fifth Street and
5th Street Northwest and 7th Avenue Northwest, just north of Kroll.
I was not aware of that. so.
Are they doing core outs, Mike, for the asphalt patching project?
We're not asphalt patching right now, but I believe Mid-American, the gas company, their contractor maybe. I saw some others that looked like they had been cored out.
Okay,
So-
been there for a few weeks, so.
Well, yeah.
They're doing some sidewalk work and all kinds of stuff. I don't think it's,
Yeah, it's not sidewalk, though. It's right in the middle of the road.
Yeah, but Fifth Street and Second Avenue Northwest, we'll take a look at.
Second Avenue, I heard there was a gas line thing slowed the road down, or
Right.
slowed down a lot, or not at all, or?
This may be the year of the utility conflicts. Yes, on various projects, we are encountering conflicts with the utilities, and we make adjustments in our work schedule to keep the contractor continuing while the utility company relocates or adjusts their services. In this situation, we have a 2-block stretch on Second Avenue Southwest between 6th and 8th Street, where the gas main and services are too high, and they're not deep enough. So they will, I believe this week, going into next week, they will be lowering that main and all the services. And in the meantime, our grading contractor is jumping ahead a couple of blocks and will be doing the west end of the project. Those are conflicts that come up and adjustments that need to be made.
So overall, probably proceed on schedule, just out of order?
Correct, yeah. Yep, so far, hopefully we can just make an adjustment to the order of things without affecting the overall completion date.
Councilman Holstein?
Yes, I had several people contact me, probably because the weather is getting nicer, and then because of the little, well, I shouldn't say little, I guess the accident maybe on Bramer spurred it too, I'm not sure. But I've had people asking about pedestrian right-of-way again, and always with appreciation for the signs that are out there, but also saying that there still seems to be a lot of education that's needed, and perhaps education and ticketing when cars are in violation, because part of what I'm hearing is that some people have said that, okay, the signs are out there now in the middle of the street, that the pedestrian has a right-of-way, but if a car sees you put your foot out, they'll step on the gas to get through that area faster, rather than trying to stop. I don't know how much of that is going on, but there does seem to be some concern about how much folks are paying attention to those now that they're up and have gotten used to them. So I guess I would just ask that we take a good look at that and a sincere effort to try to, keep the crosswalks painted. That was another comment I got was they're not all painted. I also got comments about shouldn't we have more no right turn on reds. I'm not going to pretend to have a position on that. I don't know enough about it. I don't know what determines the best laws for that. But I think enforcement of the pedestrian right-of-way is something that Waverly probably still has a little ways to go. We're making progress. So I would just ask any city staff and Rich to help us with that. So.
Yeah. Mr. Gade?
I've had a local band and some local businesses ask me about Gentlemen on the Road concert. They want to know if it is going to be downtown, and when they're going to hear if they're going to play, or when they're going to know if it is going to be downtown or not, so they can start planning on how much food and drinks and things to stock and buy, and if they should take other bookings or wait to hear from if they're going to play here, that kind of stuff.
So it definitely is going to be, there will be a stage downtown,
Okay.
in addition to the main stage. And thank you for that reminder. We'll have the liquor license for that on the agenda on the 18th. And so We've been working with them on everything from like access, how can locals get downtown even if it's shut down during Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? What hours do you not need a wristband? What hours do you need a wristband? To fencing and the detour. So all the talent for that downtown stage is bought, if you will, through Madison House Presents and Don Sullivan as the main person. And then as far as within that fencing, which basically runs consistent with the buildings facing Bremer from First down to Fourth and around there. If you're inside that area and want to be a vendor, also talk to him because that's kind of their vendor area. But if you're a establishment or regular establishment, just plan on 5,000 to 8,000 people each day over those 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a done deal that it will be in downtown. You're just finalizing kind of the details.
Yep, exactly. So plan on that alternate time stage downtown, and the stage is planned to be in front of the 300 East Bremer building, facing back towards the river.
Okay. Okay. That helps. Thank you.
Yep. Good question.
Very good question.
Question for Mike to begin with. We're digging in Coleman Park on extending the storm sewer lines, correct? Are we endangering any trees?
Yes,
The big ones?
the big ones.
Is there alternatives? We've been losing so many trees. There's just going to be an outrage that I don't think we're prepared for. We cannot lose those trees in that park. So there has to be another way to do this then, seems to me.
I'm sorry,
You don't
Mayor,
think so,
but
huh?
there isn't. I mean, this is, we are not intentionally removing the trees. We are going to do everything within reason to protect and keep the trees. But are they potentially at risk? Yes, they are.
Can we dig a new hole and put in, and leave the pipe alone right where it's at and reroute it?
We're already at nearly an $800,000 project, and it started today, so.
These trees, those are huge. Those are 120-year-old trees. I don't think we can possibly endanger those
Yeah, the
trees.
south one's a cottonwood, and you know my opinion of cottonwoods. It's a big tree, but it's probably 50 years old. The north one, large tree, is a hackberry, and we're really trying to save that one, because that's a good tree. The hackberry's more, the cottonwood's more at risk.
We've been losing so many trees.
We've put several trees in Coleman Park in the past year, especially with the amphitheater project, so we are replacing, we just can't replace 50-year-old trees.
Correct. Two comments. These concern former mayors. Mary Ackerman is, needs our prayers. She is fighting cancer. I think she's with her son. And she needs to be embraced by us in a special way in this time of need. Maud Wickham. Maud Wickham has passed away. Her funeral will be tomorrow. I'll go representing us, and anybody else who'd like to come is welcome. This is Clarence's widow. He was mayor following Larry Carver, I think. And these are very important people to our past, very important people to our present, and we remember that family also in our prayers. Communications, what was that?
Yep, just a thank you note for the police department from a recent call that they helped on. As we get those, we like to share those with folks too and put those up there, and then some supporting documentation from what Dan mentioned earlier.
I apologize, I didn't look past page 1 on the comments. I didn't mean to steal your thunder, so.
No thunder stolen.
I just read the good comments on the police department and stopped there.
It's not a bad place to stop.
That's right.
Thank you on that. Last word goes to Russ.
I have no reports.
Any comments on tonight?
No comments. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, it's just good to have you part of it, and feel free anytime to jump in. Move to adjourn.
Motion, we adjourn.
Second. All in favor signify with yes.
Yes. May the fourth be with you. Come on.